we are less than 2 weeks away from the second national signing day. Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators doing a nice job pulling together the finishing touches on a 2019 class and looking forward, of course, to 2020 and even 2021. We got Jackie Franchuli on the line from the Rivals platform for Florida football, Gators territory. Jackie, how you doing today?
I'm great, Mark.
I know you're tracking so many different things, so I appreciate you stopping by and taking the time for us here. We'll get on the recruiting. Everybody always wants to know the latest. So if there's anything in the last couple days as we get close, I know that the class is almost finalized, but there's a few major targets still out there.
Yeah, obviously, Florida did a good job of signing most of their class during the early signing day period, and they signed, over 20 kids. They had, one kid chose not to sign, not because he didn't want to, but because he needed to get his grades in order before he signed, and he's able to sign for national signing. That was Dion Black, but they're really focusing on adding cornerback depth and also defensive line depth. So those are the two positions that Mullen kind of identified as that they needed to focus on this go around. And this week was actually a very big week for them because they hired on Torian Gray as their new defensive back coach after Charlton Warren left for Georgia. And that was a big, concern for Florida because Charlton Warner was one of the lead recruiters for Kaiir Elam. Kaiir Elam already had his official visit to Florida, and during his official visit to Georgia the week later, Charlton Warren was hired to go to Georgia. So obviously that wasn't the best timing for Florida, but Mullen did a good job of his hire in Torian Gray. The Elams were very concerned about playing for a coach that has the reputation of producing defensive backs in the league, and that's what Mullen was able to get with Torian Gray. So that was a big win for Florida because not only do you have the DBU reputation already, but you also got a coach that has a DBU reputation. Gray has done a good job during his time during Virginia Tech. He recruited very well there, and he was able to produce a lot of NFL talent, and that's something that the Elams really like. They also did not waste any time for Torian Gray and the Elams to meet. Florida already had a visit with Torian Gray. Torian Gray already had a visit with Elam on Wednesday night. Originally, that was meant to be scheduled for Thursday night, but they moved it because Elam had a basketball game on Thursday, so they really wanted a family feel, have a dinner together on Wednesday instead of being on the busyness of the basketball game on Thursday. So according to my sources, that was a great visit. They learned a little bit more about Gray and what he can bring to the table. So when you have a legacy target like Elam, whose uncle obviously would love for his nephew to play at a school that he did, you also have that the dad is being sold on the fact that his son can get developed at the college level by a coach that has experience in NFL too. So that's been moving in the right trajectory. Right now, we also are looking into what's going to happen with Charles Moore. He's a defensive tackle out of Mississippi. He visited during the same weekend that Kaiir Elam visited, which was around 2 weeks ago. During that visit, he said that Florida was his leader. And everything pointed to that UF was going to be his pick. He was going to most likely commit to the Gators. However, South Missouri left a few days later, and according to his mom, South Missouri was a big reason why they liked Florida. Now, that's not the only reason. They also like the fact that Florida's academics is very high and it offers a good balance between football and academics, which is something, that the mom really appreciates because she is a mom of 6. So she really wants each of her children to get good education, and she says that she really wants, Charles Moore to get a good education, and that's something that she prioritizes. And obviously, you got to win mom over before you get anything else. So right now we have to be in a wait and see on what defensive line coach Florida gets to see how that affects Charles Moore, who's also being recruited by Auburn, as well as hometown school Mississippi State, which he decommitted from earlier in this month. So right now, from everything we hear, it's a really tight race between Auburn and Florida.
And when you look
at one to watch as well.
Yeah, Jackie, when you look at Torian Gray's background, he seems to check all the boxes in regards to what you would want. He's still a relatively young guy that can connect with the players he's recruiting. He's got the Florida ties to being D-back coach there just a couple of years ago. He's a guy that played in the NFL, so he can speak to the kids on that level, that he was able to become an NFL player from a place where he was an all Big East player at Virginia Tech. coached in the NFL very recently, obviously just last season with the Washington Redskins. So he's got the NFL Florida connection, everything filled in there that seems to be a great fit. The defensive line coach search, though, seems to be a little bit more buttoned up in regards to information. So anything we've missed on the 2019 front, or anything hot for 2020 or 21 in regards to Dan Mullen's pursuits of players?
Yeah, no, I will say, I think around this time last year, we were talking about how they were running behind in the 2019 class because they were a brand new coaching staff. And, in this day and age, you have to be 2-3 years ahead of the game. Good news is, like, Florida has done a good job of being ahead of the game in both 2020 and 2021's classes. They've been able to put together a pretty impressive class. They've been able to get, one of the latest commitments, a 4-star wide receiver, Leonard Manuel from Vanguard, was one of their biggest gets in the 2020 class. And it looks like Florida is now open to get a second quarterback in that class. Right now they have a local product, Anthony Richardson, committed as a quarterback in the 2020 class. But they're now looking to add Carson Beck, which is a 2020 quarterback committed to Alabama. He's a 4-star pro-style quarterback. He was once committed to Florida as a baseball player, but then decommitted and committed to Alabama as both baseball and football, but now has decided to just focus on football. So because he's just focusing on football, now he's looking back at Florida as just a football team, not as a football baseball together. So, he's been very impressed with what Florida has done. And Dan Mullen in Florida, although he was committed to Alabama, has never really kind of stopped recruiting him. So he's meant to visit in the next 2 weeks during their junior day. So that'll be someone that we need to focus on. I think because they're willing to get the second quarterback, that's someone that they could lure away from Alabama, especially with Mullen's ability to kind of show progress in the quarterback progression like he's done with Felipe Franks. He's got attention from a lot of the quarterbacks in the class. So Carson Beck is definitely a name to watch moving forward in the 2020 class.